Tonight, an I-Team exclusive. For the first time, we can show you the body cam video when a Richmond County deputy strikes another deputy on the back of the head with his flashlight. It happened when both were responding to a call. A 17-year-old is on the ground there, dying from gunshot wounds. And also, for the first time, the deputy hit is speaking out, talking only to our I-Team. This February will mark 4 years since that night.
And to put it in perspective, this happened more than a month before Augusta had its very first case of COVID. A grand jury indicted Deputy Brandon Keithley, and he was arrested on charges of aggravated assault and aggravated assault on a peace officer. But even after all this time, his case has not been to court. And as our Meredith Anderson has uncovered, the delays come at a high cost.
In more ways than one. Let's start with the obvious one, money. Brandon Keithley has been on paid administrative leave all this time. So for all this time, you've been paying him not to come to work. But the cost is also transparency. Because this hasn't been to trial, this video is not in the public record yet. I only have it because a source gave it to me. That's because for months, I've been investigating how the Richmond County Sheriff's Office investigates itself. And this could be yet another example, raising questions about who's policing the police.
Here, let's get him out of the car. Get his clothes off.
Is he alive?
February 7th, 2020. D'Angelo Burns has been shot. His girlfriend brought him to the Circle K on Peach Orchard Road. That's Deputy Brandon Keithley with a flashlight. He's a field training officer, instructing a trainee to gently lay Burns on the ground.
Get his clothes up.
Deputies know he's been shot, but they need to find exactly where the bullet hit.
Where's the bleed at?
They're still searching for it when Deputy Nick Nunes arrives on scene.
Talk to me. What do we got? We don't know. We're still trying to find where he's bleeding from. Right here.
This video is hard to watch, even after we blurred out the graphic images. This young man lost his life that night. But what happens next? That's difficult too.
Hey, look at me, look at me. Hey, look at me. No, step back. I'm working on it, dude. Get the away, dude.
Hey,
don't push me when
stop.
I'm working.
Get his clothes off.
Dude, did you just see me with the flashlight, dude?
He did. Listen again and you'll hear it.
Get his clothes off.
Here's another look from another angle as another deputy races to the scene. He runs toward the group of deputies working on Burns, and it happens here.
Dude, did you just see me with the flashlight, dude?
Not long after, Sheriff Richard Roundtree held this news conference.
This was embarrassing, not just to the deputies, but to this agency.
He suspended Deputy Brandon Keithley for 30 days, but also gave Deputy Nunes a written reprimand.
He added insult to injury when he handed me that.
Nick Nunes resigned, and not long after, left the area.
First of all, I'm sorry it has to be this way. I would have much rather sat down face to face.
So I'm currently in Phoenix, Arizona, so I'm quite a bit of ways from you.
It's also been quite a bit of time since I first asked him for an interview.
This wasn't because you didn't want to talk about it. It's because you felt like you couldn't?
I was advised that I couldn't. I was told from senior leadership at the sheriff's office at the time that I was to refrain from speaking to you unless I wanted to become jobless. So my career was dangled in front of me. And so in order to pay my mortgage, pay my bills, and have a sustainable way of life, I was told I could not speak to you.
Nick Nunes now works in the private sector, so for the first time, he feels like he's able to speak out. He doesn't have a copy of these videos, so we took him back to that night.
Talk to me. What do we got?
That's me putting on medical gloves.
By playing them for him and letting him explain what we're seeing and what's happening.
We need to establish an airway as soon as possible to make sure that the body can maintain consciousness and we can start to stabilize the gunshot wound victim.
You're trying to establish the airway, or he's trying to establish the airway?
So if you see right there, Keithley's hand is the hand that's ungloved. So I can quickly see that, and I can quickly tell that he has no efforts, or he's going to give no effort into handling the body.
Nunes is a former Marine who, even as a deputy, carried his own medical supplies. The I-Team spoke with a mother back in 2020 who says Nunes responded when her nephew was shot in the stomach and her son was shot in the leg.
Within 45 seconds, they would have been dead. Yep.
She believes Nunes saved both their lives.
Whatever he carries or whatever, he had to stick it inside their wound to stop the bleeding. He told me he was a Marine, he was training there.
Nunes says that night at the Circle K, his training kicked in.
The right thing that should have been done was Keithley swallow his pride, take a step back, and if he wants to instruct his trainee, he can do so from a safe distance while I do work. Let me do work, let me try my best.
The Richmond County Sheriff's Office sees it differently, though.
When Nunes went over there and pushed him out of the way, he committed a violation of the law. That's against the law for him to do that.
Chief Deputy Patrick Clayton points to a Georgia code that specifically outlines it's a crime to willfully resist or obstruct any emergency medical technician.
He interfered with the service of an EMT, somebody that had better training than he had, that was conducting an assessment, and he decided he wanted to play Superman.
Keithley's attorney, Jacques Hawk, tells the I-Team Nunes sees himself as some social media hero, interfering with Richmond County firefighters who were rendering aid in the past. Like Nunes, Keithley also has a military background. According to his personnel record, he was a military police officer in the Army. He also was an Augusta firefighter before working as a deputy, so he was a certified EMT.
Were there ever any thoughts of charging Nunes criminally?
No, I mean, we looked at it, and basically what this was, we made the determination this was a dispute between two co-workers, is basically what this boiled down to. It was appalling, but we felt like there was a joint culpability on both of their parts, and that's why we made the findings that we did.
Clayton does admit he wouldn't disagree if Keithley faced lesser charges.
Keithley, if he was going to be charged with any kind of crime, the only thing that we can see that he qualifies for would be simple battery.
Still, the Sheriff's Office's own police and procedures manual names a flashlight as a possible deadly weapon. It also clearly states it may be considered deadly force if strikes are directed at the subject's head.
I'm not defending what he did, but he clinked him in the back of the head. He just clinked him. It was such a light hit that he actually had to ask him, "Did you just hit me?" If you look on the videotape, he says, "Did you just hit me?"
Dude, did you just hit me with the flashlight, dude?
Then I felt the back of my head wet, like a sticky wet. And then that's when I reached back, and in one frame you can actually see in my glove, my light purple glove is now almost maroon. That's actually not the blood from the gunshot wound victim, that's the blood from scrubbing the back of my head.
Nunes went to the hospital that night. He got stitches and staples. There was an internal investigation where basically the sheriff's office investigated itself. The sheriff suspended Keithley but never charged him with a crime. But then the district attorney showed a grand jury the video, and that grand jury recommended charges. A second grand jury indicted Keithley on felony charges. He was arrested December 2nd, 2020, yet Sheriff Richard Roundtree allowed him to keep his job, putting him on leave with pay.
Yeah, I think that's disgusting.
The I-Team crunched the payroll numbers. So far, it's cost Richmond County taxpayers more than $137,000 for Keithley to sit at home, during which time he's been given not one, but 2 pay raises. Meanwhile, his post-certification is suspended, meaning he has no arrest powers in the state of Georgia. So technically, taxpayers are paying him to be a deputy when he can't even legally be a deputy.
The people deserve better, and I hope that they get better.
As for this body cam video, now you can finally see for yourself what happened that night and decide what you think happened.
I did hope to interview Brandon Keithley for this story, but his attorney said that he could not because of pending litigation. As for where this case stands now, Columbia County District Attorney Bobby Christine is handling it because Augusta District Attorney Jared Williams said he had a conflict of interest. Keithley's attorney, however, believes former DA Natalie Payne has a conflict as well. For now, we are told that it is not on any court calendars yet.